Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam and today we're doing my January TBR. So for 2022 I decided that I want to do TBRs, but I want to do them in kind of a fun way that might make me stick to it. But I know that I am naturally kind of a mood reader, so I needed something that was fairly open-ended while still having some structure, some game aspect to it. So I decided to go with a TBR jar, or in my case, a TBR pitcher. And what I did was I took little sticky notes and wrote prompts for books on them. So I didn't write down the names of like books on my physical TBR. I went with prompts for a couple of reasons. First reason I did this is because I only have 35 books on my physical TBR. And honestly, some of them that are on my physical TBR, I don't necessarily have a desire to read right away. There are a few books that are classics. There are a few books that I kind of like inherited from family that I have on my physical TBR, but don't really have like a strong desire to read right now. And I decided that 2022 is going to be the year that I read books that I want to read instead of forcing myself to read books. The second reason I decided to go with prompts is because I am a mood reader, so prompts is the way that I can make this a little bit more open-ended. I still get some choice instead of being like, oh, I picked out this book, now I have to read this book. A prompt gives me some options. I can choose from a variety of books that match the prompt. So the rules for my TBR pitcher are fairly simple, fairly straightforward. I'm going to pick 5 prompts a month from this pitcher, and I went with 5 for a couple of reasons. One, my brain kind of works in multiples of 5. So I was gonna do 6, but then I was like, no, it's gotta be a multiple of 5, but 10 seemed like a lot. So we're gonna go with 5. Another reason that I kind of chose 5 was the last 2 months I read 8 books each month, and that's since I started taking BookTube more seriously and started doing a lot more outside of reading books all day long. I found that during the school year it's really hard for me to read 20 books a month like I can in the summer. So I felt like 8 is a good number to strive for in the month, but I wanted a bit of a buffer in there because I do read some books on NetGalley that wouldn't be part of this TBR, so I needed some room for those. I read 1 Outlander book a month, so whether that fits a prompt or not, I will be reading it, and they are very long books, so I needed some room there. And it also just gives me a chance to do some true mood reading if I want to. Now, I can go over 5 books in a month, I can go over 8 books in a month. If I read 20 books in a month, that's great. But my actual TBR from the jar is going to be 5 prompts that I'm going to choose. The next rule I have is that I have to choose books from my physical TBR first. So I have 35 books on my physical TBR right now, which doesn't seem like a lot. And it's really not in the span of like a lot of booktuber TBRs. I don't have hundreds and hundreds of books on my shelf that I haven't read. I have read most of the books on my shelf. So my goal is to read down that TBR, but I want to start there first. So if I have a book that matches the prompt, I'm going to start there. If I don't have a book that matches a prompt that I pick, then I have 2 choices. I can use my library, either through their digital app with ebooks and audiobooks, or I can physically go to the library and pick up a book, or I can reread a book. I do want to reread some books this year. I have a few in mind that I want to reread, but I'm really excited about some of the books that I want to reread. I didn't reread a whole lot last year, but I really want to this year. So that's a goal that I have, so I want to give myself that option to reread some books this year. So that does mean that the only way I can buy new books for this is if I don't have a single book that matches the prompt, and neither does my library, which shouldn't happen. The chances of that happening are pretty rare, so I'm not too worried about that. I am not on a book buying ban by any means. I do plan on purchasing books that I read through my library and end up liking and want to own. I will still purchase those. I may still buy books throughout the year. I'm going to try to keep it as low as possible just because of some of our other financial goals this year. But other than that, we should be good. And the third rule that I have, or fourth rule I guess, the last rule that I have for this is I am going to put the prompts back in after I choose it. So if I end up picking the same prompt twice in the same month, I will have to add one more book after. So for every time that I pick the same prompt, I have to add another book. So theoretically, if I picked every single one twice, we could end up with 10 books. That should not happen because there's a lot in here. I didn't actually count how many prompts that I made, but there's a good number. There are all these little origami envelopes that I made, but they're also sticky notes, so they kind of stick together a little bit. So I put them in a bigger jar so that they wouldn't stick together quite as much. But okay, so those are all of the rules for the TBR pitcher. Let's get started on January's TBR. All right, so we're gonna shake it up. I'm gonna reach in here randomly. Let's see what we got. Of course, the first one is one that I am gonna struggle with. The first one I got is sci-fi. Please ignore my awful nails. I fully intended to paint them before this video, but that did not happen. It's fine. Sci-fi. Okay, so I know I have one sci-fi book that I haven't read yet on my shelf, so let me go get that. Before I do, I'm going to throw this back in here. All right, so this is the one book that I believe is sci-fi that I have on my shelf, and that is The Calling, or Endgame The Calling, by James Frey and Nils Johnson Shelton. I don't really know anything about it. I got it from my used bookstore. It was very cheap, like $3. It sounded kind of good, but I think it's sci-fi. I don't think it's like a true dystopian. I think it's like pretty straightforward sci-fi. So we'll give this one a shot. I'll let you know things about it when I know about it, but I think that's a pretty good start because I've had this book for a couple of months now and I have been wanting to read it and it sounds good, and I also said that I wanted to read more sci-fi this year, so we're off to a good start. All right, shake it back up. One fell in my hair. I guess that's the one we're choosing. Well, the pitcher chose for us. Second chance author. Okay, so this means that I need to read a book by an author that I didn't like the last book I read by them, and I'm giving them another chance. So we'll go ahead and throw this back in here. I'm probably not going to have one on my shelf. Let me look. Okay, yeah, I kind of figured that I wouldn't have one on my shelf because if I didn't like the author the first time, I'm probably not going to purchase another one of their books. So the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that I didn't like the first series I read by her, but I know she has started another one, is Victoria Aveyard. I really did not like Red Queen, but I know that she just published Realmbreaker, which I've heard really good things about. And I'm pretty sure my library has it. Where is my phone? Realmbreaker. Okay, so they don't have it on the app, like as an ebook, but I can get it from the library. So, please hold. Library card number. That's on my keys. Okay, I will do that later. So we're going to write that down. So the second book we're going to read is Realmbreaker, and we're going to get it from the library. Okay, so far we've got one book off my physical TBR and one book from the library. That's pretty good. We're supporting both aspects that I want to support. All right, cool. Book number 3. They're all stuck together. Sticky notes was probably not the best option for this. Okay, that's one. Oof, a retelling. Okay, so retelling means something, focus. There we go. Okay, so retelling is something, it's probably gonna be a fantasy. All right, let me think. Okay, I know what I'm gonna read for this. Lore Olympus. So this is a Hades and Persephone story, so that's like a retelling, right? Like Greek myth, retelling, that totally counts. This is a graphic novel, and I guess it originally was a webtoon, and now it's been published as a book, which is super cool. Still don't know what a webtoon is, but I think the concept is cool. So I have been really wanting to read this. I just bought it like this month, so I'm really excited for this book. Alright, so book 3, Lore Olympus. Alright, we're off to a good start so far. I'm pretty excited about the 3 books. I'm a little, I wouldn't say I'm excited about Realm Breaker. I'm curious about Realm Breaker. Alright, book number 4. Five-word title. Alright, I love how specific I got in some of these. That's funny. Okay, 5-word title. Let me count. So I know a couple of books that I could use for this on my physical TBR. One of them is a fantasy, but it is a spin-off that I've read the original series for, but it's been a couple of years, so I'd probably want to reread it. And I know I have like 3 or 4 NetGalley books I'm trying to read this month, so I probably don't want to take on something that's going to require me to read a bunch of books. So I think I know what I'll go with. So for my 4th book, I'm going to read People We Meet on Vacation. 5 words in the title. It's the author of Beach Read, which I also haven't read, but I have been kind of craving a just like rom-com contemporary romance kind of thing, so we'll give it a shot. I don't actually know anything about it. One of my students recommended it to me, but apparently we've got Poppy and Alex. They've got nothing in common. They go on vacation every summer together. Because they're best friends. Oh, okay, so is this like a best friend romance? Because I love those. I love those. Okay. So they go on one more vacation together. A week to fix everything. After an ill-fated final trip. Okay, I'm interested. I don't know a lot about it, but it sounds like a best friends to lovers situation, and that is like one of my favorite tropes ever, so I'm excited about this one. I feel like we've got a really good variety of books going here. I didn't really expect that, to be honest. Alright, last book. A number in the title. That one might be kind of hard. Number in the title, number in the title. Alright, let me check physical TBR. Alright, so I do not have anything on my physical TBR that has a number in the title. So let's check my TBR, and then we can start checking library stuff. Alright, so we've got Ready Player One or The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So let's see which one my library has. And let's try The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Search. Okay, so it looks like this is the regular book. Okay, one of the libraries near me has it. Let me check the other one. No. Okay, so my library does have it, which is fine. I'll just have to put it on hold with Realm Breaker and pick them up because my library is currently under renovations, so you can't actually like go in and browse anything, which is slightly annoying. That's fine. I will put those 2 on hold. That was book 5, right? Okay, those are the 5 books from the TBR. So we have, to recap, we have Endgame The Calling, which is a sci-fi, I think. We have Lore Olympus for our retelling. This one was for retelling. We have People We Meet on Vacation as our 5-word title. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo as something with a number in the title, and Realm Breaker for a second chance author. Okay, so those are the 5 books from the picture. So to finish out my TBR for the month of January. I will also be reading An Echo in the Bone. This is by Diana Gabaldon, and it is the 7th Outlander book. I am finishing the 6th book today, which is the 30th, so I will be starting this one on January 1st, as I always do. Super excited about it, super nervous because I know something is coming, and I think it might come in this book. This one, it's got to come in book 7 or 8. I don't know which one, but I am terrified. Terrified. Absolutely terrified. I am terrified. Like, that's okay. I am also going to read a few books off of NetGalley that I have been approved for. One of them I started this month. I might finish it before the end of the month, but I kind of doubt it. Okay, so the first book I'm reading is the second book in the Crowns of Croswald, which is The Girl with the Whispering Shadow. This is by D.E. Knight, and it is book 2 in the Crowns of Croswald series, which is a middle grade fantasy. Very Harry Potter-esque. It follows a girl named Ivy, and she is going to a magical school to be a Scrivener, and there's like an evil queen, and she has a lot of secrets, and Ivy has a lot of secrets that she didn't know she had. Yeah, it's really cute. I really liked the first book a lot. The second book I feel like is a little bit slower paced than the first book, so it's taking me a little bit longer to get through, but it's still really enjoyable. And there's 3 or 4 books in the series, so I'm really excited to keep going with the series, but that's exciting. I'm also reading The Curse That Binds Us, which, if I'm being honest, I don't remember anything about. I know it's a fantasy. I think it's a fantasy romance. I think it's in like a new adult-ish age range. Maybe young adult or new adult. I'm really not sure. I'm hoping that it's more new adult. We'll see. I don't remember anything about it. I read like 3 pages and then got distracted. But I only have 20 days left on it, so I will be reading that one in January. And then I also just got approved for 2 thrillers, When She Disappeared and The Blood Tide. I don't know anything about either one of them. I'm sure I did when I clicked the request button, but that was when I first got NetGalley like 4 months ago. Clicked a bunch of buttons, didn't know what I was doing, and all of a sudden I've started being approved for multiple things at a time and realized that that was a really bad idea. So we're going to try to get through them all in January, be done, and then kind of like be a lot more selective with what we click on, now that we know how NetGalley works. Alright, so that finishes out my January TBR. I am super excited for some of these books. I really like that I have like a wide variety here. That makes my mood reader heart very happy. I can kind of pick and choose what I want to read. So if you're interested in seeing if I read all these books and how they go and my February TBR and more of this little picture here, hit that subscribe button and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye!
Oh my love, you're such a fragile thing, I know. And with the